Paris, autumn of 1307. The biting wind cut through the dark alleys of the city, carrying the scent of melted wax and sour wine from the taverns. The 14th century was a time of intrigue and betrayal, where kings and popes fought for control of Europe with iron fists and stone hearts. At the center of this power struggle stood the Order of the Knights Templar, a brotherhood that had evolved from humble warrior monks into one of the most powerful and feared forces in Christendom. Founded during the Crusades, the order had thrived for 2 centuries, amassing immeasurable wealth, lands across Europe and the Middle East, and a disciplined army that commanded both fear and respect. Its members were bankers to kings, guardians of the faith, and relentless warriors. But what had once been a legacy of glory had now become its greatest curse. King Philip IV of France, known as Philip the Fair, saw the Templars not only as an obstacle to his power but also as the solution to his financial woes. Deeply indebted to the order, he knew he could never bend these warriors, who were loyal only to God and the Pope, unless they ceased to exist. A sinister plan began to take shape. In the shadow of Notre Dame, Philip gathered his advisors and devised a scheme that would shake all of Christendom. The king would accuse the Templars of heresy, idolatry, and unspeakable crimes. Under such charges, even the most powerful could fall. And so, on Friday, October 13, 1307, under the pale light of dawn, royal soldiers marched through the streets of Paris with a single goal: to eradicate the Templars once and for all. The fate of the order was sealed. But what Philip IV did not know was that his own downfall had begun that very day. King Philip IV was always a calculating man. His impenetrable expression concealed the ruthless nature of a ruler who tolerated no challenges to his authority. With each passing day, the weight of his debts to the Templars grew, along with his impatience. He knew that the order, powerful as any kingdom, would never bow to his wishes. They had to be eliminated. And to do so, he needed an ally to sanction his treachery, the Church. Pope Clement V, however, was hesitant. The Templars were warriors of Christendom, defenders of the faith, and longtime allies of the papacy. But Philip would not take no for an answer. Using his influence, he pressured the Pope with veiled threats, insinuating that the very security of the Church was at risk if Clement refused to act. With the Pope weakened and cornered, Philip ordered a secret investigation. He claimed the Templars practiced pagan rituals, worshipped forbidden idols, and committed acts of heresy. Rumors spread like wildfire. Soon, even the people began to look upon the Templars with suspicion. The night before the great attack, Philip summoned his most trusted officers to the royal palace. By the flickering torchlight, maps were unrolled, orders were issued, and every detail of the operation was meticulously planned. By dawn, Paris would witness one of the greatest betrayals in history. Jacques de Molay, the Grand Master of the Templars, slept soundly within the fortress of the order, unaware of the fate that awaited him. The silence of the early morning draped Paris like a cloak of shadows. The city slept, but within the royal barracks and garrisons, soldiers awaited the order to strike. The warm breath of horses turned to mist in the cold air as men sharpened swords and checked their armor. As the first hints of dawn painted the sky in pale blue, the gates of the royal palace swung open. Under the command of Guillaume de Nogaret, Philip IV's counselor and right-hand man, hundreds of soldiers marched with precision through the narrow streets. The plan allowed no room for failure. The Templars would be captured before they could even react. Within the Templar stronghold, most knights still slept, secure in the belief that their walls were impenetrable. Jacques de Molay woke to the first screams outside. In an instant, the deafening sound of boots echoed through the halls. Doors were smashed open, swords were drawn, and the face of treachery revealed itself in full. The Templars tried to resist, but they were overwhelmed by the sheer force of the royal army. Jacques de Molay was seized along with his men. Shackled, he raised his gaze to the Parisian sky and, without a word, understood that the order's fate was sealed. The march of the prisoners began. The people watched in silence as the once feared Templars were paraded through the streets like common criminals. But in Molay's eyes, there was no fear, only the burning promise of vengeance. The dungeons of the royal palace were cold and damp, illuminated only by the dim flicker of torches along the stone walls. The Templars, once feared warriors, were now chained prisoners, awaiting a fate already written in blood. Jacques de Molay, despite the torture and starvation, remained unbowed. His eyes burned with the defiance of a man who knew he was a victim of a conspiracy. One by one, the knights were brought before the inquisitors, forced to confess to crimes they had never committed. The psychological torment was relentless. Many, under the threat of further suffering, falsely admitted to heresy. Others, like Molay, refused to yield. He knew that any confession would only validate Philip IV's fabricated accusations. The days dragged on in a spectacle of cruelty and manipulation. The king demanded a swift condemnation, while Pope Clement V hesitated, fearing the consequences of such an act. But Philip's will was law, and soon the sentence was announced. The end of the Templars was near, but their story was far from over. On March 18, 1314, Jacques de Molay and his companions were led to a public square in front of Notre Dame Cathedral. The crowd watched in silence as the firewood was stacked high. The verdict was read aloud: death by burning for heresy. Before the flames consumed him, Molay raised his voice and uttered his final curse. "Philip Clement, within a year, I summon you to the judgment of God." His words echoed through the square, and some swore the flames took longer than usual to devour his body. A few months later, both King Philip IV and Pope Clement V were dead. Molay's prophecy had come true, and his curse would haunt history for centuries. The execution of Jacques de Molay marked the official end of the Knights Templar, but their story was far from forgotten. Over the centuries, rumors spread that some knights had escaped, keeping the Templar tradition alive in secret. The order's vast wealth was seized, yet its influence never truly disappeared. Many believe its secrets were hidden in coded documents, inspiring tales of secret societies and theories about the Templar survival in the shadows of history. The curse of Molay remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Coincidence or divine justice? More than just warriors and bankers, the Templars represented an ideal of discipline, devotion, and mystery. Their story continues to captivate the world, fueling legends of hidden treasures, secret brotherhoods, and knowledge that could change humanity's fate. Did any remnants of the order survive? Or was their greatest treasure not gold or land, but the weight of truth passed down through the ages? One thing is certain: the flame of the Templars has never been extinguished. Do you believe in the Templar curse? Let us know in the comments. Enjoyed this historical mystery? Like and subscribe for more epic stories.